Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I will present our analysis on economic trends in Asian countries. First, let me explain the problem. There are significant disparities in GDP per capita across countries. In addition, inflation increased sharply, especially in recent years, while government spending does not always align with economic growth. Also, GDP growth does not strongly reduce unemployment. Based on this, our main objective is to answer the key analytical question: how do GDP, unemployment, and inflation vary across countries and changes over time? We also aim to summarize key economic indicators, compare disparities among Asian countries, examine the relationship between GDP growth and unemployment, and analyze changes during the pandemic period from 2020 to 2022. From this, we develop research questions focusing on inflation effects, GDP growth differences, unemployment trends, and the impact of the pandemic. For the next slides, for this study, we used data from Asian countries covering the period from 2014 to 2023. The dataset includes key economic variables such as GDP growth, GDP per capita, inflation rate, unemployment rate, and government spending.
For data cleaning process, our original dataset contained 3472 records covering over 200 countries from 2010 to 2025. So after cleaning and filtering, the data reduced to 100 records focusing on 11 Asian countries only, including Timor-Leste from 2014 to 2023 only. Next is the data relationship. So the first one is using map chart that shows ordinal comparison where the countries are grouped by development level from developed to less developed using color shades. Next one is trend over time where we're using line and area chart that shows the connected points and the area on how the data change over time, making it easier to see the trends. The other one was correlation relationship where this relationship visualize how one quantitative variable relates to another to identify the patterns or outliers.
So we use a total of 4 graphs: map chart, line chart, area graph, and scatter plot. For map chart, it is to show an overview of the economic development level in the Asian countries. For area graph, it is to provide clear visual dip and recovery period of the variables. And for the line chart, it is to show the inflation trend across Asian countries for their inflation. And for scatter plot, is to identify the correlation between the output GDP and also the market level. It is to quickly see the trend and see the variables.
This dashboard shows the economic trends and disparities across ASEAN countries from 2014 to 2023. First, looking at the inflation trend together with GDP growth and government spending, we can see a clear pattern during and after the pandemic. During 2020, GDP dropped significantly due to COVID, and governments increased spending to support the economy. However, as we move into 2021 and 2022, GDP begins to recover, while government spending starts to decline. At the same time, inflation rises sharply because as economies reopen, demand increased quickly, but supply was still limited due to early disruptions. The post-pandemic recovery created a supply-demand imbalance. Next, from the scatter plot, we observe a weak relationship between GDP growth and unemployment rate. As we see, the data points are scattered, showing no consistent pattern. Here we can see Timor-Leste as an outlier. Even though the unemployment rate is low, the GDP is still relatively low. In this case, many people are working but they may not be in high-quality jobs. So, the jobs available may be informal, low income, which do not contribute much to overall economic growth. This shows that low unemployment does not always indicate a strong economy. Finally, from the map, we can clearly see economic disparities across ASEAN. Comparing Singapore and the Philippines, Singapore, a developed and high-income country, shows more stable GDP and more controlled inflation, while the Philippines experiences greater fluctuations. This indicates that countries with stronger economic foundations are more resilient to shocks, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Overall, the findings show that true economic strength is not just about growth, but about stability, resilience, and the quality of employment.
One of the Tauhidi epistemology principles that be used for research is first amanah. The chart is based on a real dataset from the World Bank accessed via Kaggle, along with other sources to ensure its truthfulness and reliability of the visualization. Second is adil, ensuring every nation is represented regardless of economic size and that the dashboard is presented without bias to the audience. And lastly is wasatiyah, the use of complex charts and clear label ensure that the data is accurate, comprehensive, and easy to understand.